YouTube Nation, what is up, and welcome to another episode of Tailgate Talkers Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Morris, and as you can see, I'm by myself again. Dane has real life issues he has to take care of, so that means you're stuck with your boy again for another episode. I'm so sorry. But that's okay, I made myself a run sheet so I stay relatively on track, and the run sheet says that we're... All right, guys, welcome back to another episode. We're going to go over our pick standings like we do each and every episode. And my hopes of finishing the season above 500 in my pick standings are, they're dwindling mightily. I am 22 and 23, so I'm finally in the negative, finally under 500. Dane is 19 and 26. Bruh. We both went 1-2 last week. I'm going to go for 3-0. Damn it. I'm going to go 3-0 this week. It's going to fucking happen. It's going to fucking happen. We're going to preview the games that we picked last week, which was the Ravens and Packers, Eagles and Bills, and 49ers and Bears. Man, let me tell you what, man. Two of them were great games. Sorry, Dane. And then we're not really going to get into any weekly news this week. We're mostly going to focus on the playoff picture. And man, week 18 is setting up to be one interesting week. First off, you got the Buccaneers and Panthers. Winner takes all. Winner wins the division, gets in. You got the Steelers and the Ravens. Winner gets in. You got the 49ers and Seahawks. Winner gets the number one seed. I mean, there's just so many different things. Like it's much watch television this week, guys. And then we'll go over our fantasy segment, our overachievers, underachievers, our stardoms and sit-ems. And quite frankly, I don't know why you guys continue to listen to us because, it's bad. And then we'll go to some game previews. Obviously, we always pick the Eagles and Packers game. Me as an Eagles fan, Dane as a Packers fan. And then we pick the next juiciest game of the week. And while there is some juicy games this week, none more juicy than that 49ers and Seahawks game. Winner gets the number one seed. Looking forward to that one. So we might as well start in chronological order and go over the Ravens whooping the Green Bay Packers 41-24. Derrick Henry goes for 216 yards and uno, dos, tres, cuatro touchdowns. Packers, what the hell, guys? I mean, usually it's the Packers' run defense you can kind of count on to not let the other running backs take over the game, but god damn. By the way, they signed Trevon Diggs, so he gets cut from like the worst defense in the freaking universe. I guess he's a depth piece. I mean, it's not like you traded anything, so what can it hurt, I guess? I mean, at one point, it's crazy. The Packers were like the number 2 seed. They were thought of as being Super Bowl favorites. Man, what a fall from grace. Like, Jesus Christ. Packers fans, I feel for you. But you know what? Hold your heads up high. You're still in the dance. All you need is a ticket in, and anything can freaking happen. Ask the 2007 New York Giants. On the bright side, Malik Willis did look good. He went 18 of 21 for 288 yards and a touchdown. Did get injured in the fourth quarter, so you're at your third string quarterback. I guess it was a 10-point game at the time he got injured. You probably weren't going to win anyway, but he did look decent. He did look decent. He gave you every chance to win that game. At some point, you got to stop Derrick Henry. I mean, they ran Derrick Henry 36 motherfucking times. You would think at some point, like, hey, you know that guy, that big strong bear in the backfield, he's probably going to get the ball. Stop him. Honestly, though, it's like Derrick Henry defies father time. He just gets better and better and better. And the dude's a beast, man. Absolute beast. And then there was I know Huntley can run. I know he is mobile as well. But still, no Lamar Jackson. I mean, stop Derrick Henry. And we'll get more into it in our Packers-Vikings preview video. But do the Packers, with them being locked into that 7th seed, they can't move up? They can't move down. Do you even play your starters? Because in one aspect, give yourself that manufactured, that self-created bye. Let people just get healthy. Let people, like woosah a little bit, But on the other hand, man, getting your ass whooped like that the last time the Stars played. I know there was no Jordan Love, but the last time the Stars played, is that the last feeling you want heading into elimination? The Packers are probably going to rest their starters. So this is probably the last thing you're going to see from the starters, and it's not great. I mean, think about it. We thought the defense was going to be amazing, and really, honestly, with Micah did start coming in in pivotal moments in the fourth quarter, being that closer. But without him, it's like the whole defense is like falling apart. It's like, what the hell is going on? They can't stop the run. They never could really stop the pass. The Super Bowl favorite from when the season started, it's in trouble. Overall, I think the Packers are going to be okay. Are they my favorite out of the NFC to make it to the big dance? Probably not. That doesn't mean they can't make it. That doesn't mean they don't got the talent or the coaching to make it. They'll be fine. But at the end of the day, that's been a great couple of weeks for the Packers. Now onto the Ravens side of things, with the Steelers basically acting like they care more about not letting Myles Garrett get the sack record against them rather than actually winning the game. This opens up the door for the Ravens. Now the Ravens are just a win and in. Take care of the Pittsburgh Steelers, your division rival, and you're in the big dance. Despite looking like absolute booty juice through the first half of the season, the Ravens are one win away from getting into the playoffs. And you know what? I like their chances. Moving on to the Eagles' 13-12 win over the Buffalo Bills. Good gracious, where do I start? Let me start with the positives as far as the Eagles are concerned. That defense. Holy shit. I mean, you made Superman Josh Allen look like Clark Kent. I mean, literally, the Bills could not do a damn freaking thing. And think about this. The Eagles' defense held the second best EPA offense in the entire league to 8 consecutive drives without any points. And the first time they got points, they got the ball at midfield. I know it was a raining monsoon. I know there was no Kincaid, but you still have Josh Allen and James Cook, and they couldn't do a damn thing. For most of the season, you asked me who the best defense is. I'd have told you maybe early on, maybe the Cleveland Browns or the Texans or the Seahawks. Are we sure it's not the Eagles? Do you realize ever since last year when Vic Fangio first became the Eagles defensive coordinator that the Eagles have the least amount of points given up per game? That's the same thing true this year. Ever since I think the breaking point is week 8. Week 8 on, the Eagles have given up the least amount of points. It's ridiculous. Remember what they did to the Green Bay Packers? Remember what they did to the Lions? The Cowboys have not scored more than 24 points in either game against the Eagles. And they're a pretty explosive offense. You hold the Buffalo Bills to freaking 12 points. This defense, for as bad as this offense is, this defense is just as good, if not better. Can a defense alone win you a championship in 2025? I think they can. And for those of you that disagree with me, there's been 2 games, 2 in the entire season this year, where a team did not complete a single pass in the second half. Both those instances were the Eagles, and they are 2-0 in those games. Makes no sense. Makes no logical sense other than you got a damn good defense that's saving your behind. People say you're not going to be able to keep getting away with this. People say you can't do this in the playoffs. I beg to differ because in the playoffs is when defenses mattered the most. I mean, all you have to do is look at the wild card game against the Eagles and Packers last year. It was a slop fest. You won with defense. And the crazy thing is they're doing it with 4-man rushes half the time. You realize the Eagles over the last 4 games have 18 sacks? 18 sacks in the last 4 games. That leads the league the last 4 games. You want to know how much it leads the league by? I think it's 1 sack, 2, 3, 4. Try 7. A defense travels. A defense and a running game travels. Now, the running game is something completely different. We'll get into that. But the defense travels. It's something you can kind of count on. That's what gives the Eagles a chance to repeat as champions, despite how inconsistent, and that's putting it mildly, this offense is. It gives you a chance. Now, speaking of said offense, good Lord. Some people want to instantly turn to Jalen Hurts. He's the reason. He sucks. He's overrated. Not a top 10. When Jalen is shit, I'm the first to admit it. In the Bears game, in the Chargers game especially, those back-to-back games, he was absolute trash. I don't think this game was because of Jalen. He didn't turn the ball over, and it's not like he was just throwing these wildly uncatchable, erratic passes. He was throwing out of bounds. He had 8 passing attempts, and without looking, I think probably 3 or 4 of them were out of bounds. 2 of them were drops. Someone who's rolling out of a bad pocket, looking downfield, has nothing because it's all covered up, and throwing the ball out of bounds. I don't look at that as, oh man, you're trash. There was 8 passing attempts. I went back and watched. One was Jalen Hurts' fault. That's the one where it was a little high, but it was in Devontae's hands and it just went through his hands. That one, while it should have been caught, A.J. Brown was wide open on an out route. Wide open. Boom. Easy first down. Jalen missed that. The other 7, I have a hard time blaming Jalen Hurts. There was a Dallas Goedert drop. There was a couple where he had to throw out of bounds because he had no one open. There was another pass to Devontae that should have been caught. They even ruled it a catch, and then they overruled it. Even the announcer, the commentators, and even the rules analyst guy was saying, like, I would not have overruled that. It was a long, long list of things that went against the Eagles when it came to officiating. Holy shit. And I'm so fucking glad that the Eagles won, because if the Eagles did not win this game, I would be on here looking like sour grapes, making excuses. I'm so glad they won so I can bitch at the refs just without people coming at me. That was trash. One, Jalen Hurts took a nasty out of bounds shot on the sideline where if you did that to Mahomes or Josh Allen or Burrow or anybody, it'd be like they committed murder. Not a single flag was thrown. What? There was a non-defensive pass interference call to A.J. Brown. I think we all know where I'm going with this one. Up the sideline, A.J. Brown went up with one hand. And initially live, I was bitching. I was like, what the hell kind of half-assed effort was that? Why are you going up with just one hand? What the hell? Like, that was a dime. What are you doing? Found out why. The guy literally was giving his freaking arm a bear hug. How in the world was that not pass interference? That should have been a touchdown because it would have been caught otherwise, or it should have been 1st and goal from the 1 because it was a DPI. So we ended up having to settle for a field goal that drive. That screwed us out of 4 points. Don't think I did not remember those 4 points as the Bills are trying to win the game with that 2-point conversion at the end. Do not think for a second I wasn't thinking of those 4 points. I'm like, them refs fucking screwed us. These 4 points are fucking going to matter. And for the people that say, oh, I shouldn't have came down to that, blah, 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 if you're as good as you think you are. Man, these games are, with two good teams, usually are tight as hell. Look at the 49ers and Bears game. We're going to get into it, but it came down to one play, basically. When they play other good teams, it's usually tight. So, yeah, 4 points matters half the time. You can't miss a defensive pass interference like that. That was god-awful. And then they call a long defensive pass interference like Quinton Mitchell, which you could really argue it either way. You know what that means when you can argue it whether it was or wasn't? You know what that means? It means it was ticky-tack. And they called that one, but they left that. Then there was a long one to Tyrell Shavers. They didn't even take a look at it, but I do think the ball actually did hit the ground. I do think it hit the ground. It fell on top of him, but as he rolled over, I do think the ball hit the ground without him having full control over it. They didn't even take a look at it. I was like, I think that's incomplete. And then I just mentioned about the Devontae Smith that should have been caught, that was ruled a catch and they unruled it. Man, like everything, every call was going against the Eagles. I was like, what is this? I know we're in Buffalo, but god damn. The Eagles offense, I just think played it super, super safe. I mean, it was like run, pass, run, pass. I think they even ran on a 3rd and 8, which I'm just up here like, what the hell? They say that they weren't playing extra conservative. I don't know. Again, I really don't think the second half was much on Jalen Hurts, to be honest with you. Like, there was times where they had one guy go out, one receiver go out. He was double covered. Everybody else was rushing Jalen, and Jalen had like one guy to throw to. And like I said, he was double covered. It's like, yeah, he's going to roll out, escape. Thank God he escaped the safety and just throw it out of bounds. Like, there's nowhere to go with the ball. And that's the thing about Jalen Hurts that people just don't understand. He's risk adverse. He's not going to put the ball in harm's way needlessly when you're up 13-0. I get it's against Buffalo. I get it. But it's also a monsoon. Your defense is playing freaking amazing. You're backed up against your goal line. You're not going to sit there and make a stupid throw at that time. You're going to throw it out of bounds. And at the time, in the moment, it hurts because drive over. You know, I get it. I understand it. It doesn't look pretty. Let me make a perfect example, okay? Jalen Hurts had 110 yards. That was all in the first half because he didn't complete a pass in the second half, right? Josh Allen, 262 yards. Did it look like Josh Allen threw for 262 yards? No. There was like 2 bombs that he threw that were like 50-50 balls that just luckily got caught. And I'm not dogging Josh Allen. I'm not dogging Josh Allen. What I mean by 50-50 balls, I don't mean that we're great throws or anything like that. I just mean like the DB's right there. Like he's right there. It's a 50-50 ball. But he just threw it up. Those could have easily been intercepted, but the Bills had to generate something. Jalen Hurts up 13-0 doesn't have to generate something right now with a risky throw with people that's not open. It's a structural way in how he thinks when he throws the ball. I'm not saying he's top 10 or this or that. I know people want to sit there and classify something. Oh, he sucks, or you're either a Jalen Hurts lover, or you're a hater, or whatever like that. I've been called a hater, and I think I'm the most realistic about him. You got to understand his thought process, all right? And you can't argue with it. The guy wins. You realize over the last 3 years, he has faced Mahomes 3 times, Allen twice, Lamar once, Burrow once, and Stafford 4 times. Those are all elite quarterbacks, right? Very elite. Those are the elite of the elite. He's 11-0 against them. 11-0. And before people sit there and say like, well, Josh Allen doesn't have this. He's the whole team, or this person doesn't have this. He's the whole team. Well, you can't sit there and dog Jalen Hurts because he has elite receivers or this or that or blah, 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 and then make excuses for the other guys. Well, he doesn't have this and he doesn't have that. Well, I guess he needs these things too then, doesn't he? Like, you're talking out of both sides of your mouth. Like, why do all these elite QBs need Jalen Hurts' roster if they are so much better? Now, that doesn't mean he's perfect. He has flaws. I went over him tons of times. I'm not going to get into him more here. Go watch that video. And I thought in the first half, he was making some pretty damn clutch throws. Threading a missile through 2 defenders, throwing up some dimes and everything else. Like, he was actually playing pretty damn good in the rain against the Bills in the first half. Second half, Eagles went into a shell. And they seem to do that. Remember, we were up 21-0 against the Cowboys. What happened in the second half? Shell. We were up a lot to the Buccaneers. What happened in the second half? Go into a shell. First game against the Dallas Cowboys, we're scoring I think on our first 4 drives. What happened in the second half? Nada. The Eagles just continue to operate this way. You know, I've heard this term thrown around quite a bit, and I actually agree with it. The Eagles have a prevent offense. Not a prevent from preventing themselves from scoring, although they do that quite well. It's more of let's not fuck it up. All right, we have this lead. Let's not fuck it up. Let's rely on our defense. Let's blah, 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 blah. It drives me crazy. And another thing is they don't know how to adjust to the adjustment. How many times have we seen the Eagles come out and we're actually relieved because the Eagles are actually moving the ball? And it's like, okay, man, we already know how good this defense is. If the Eagles are going to play like this game, we're going to roll. And then in the second half, it's like, where to go? Where to go? And I think it's because the other team adjusts and we don't know how to readjust. We go into that with our game plan. And if that game plan is the right game plan for the team we're playing, we have the talent, we soar. But once they adjust, we're fucked. And if it's not the right game plan for that team, we're fucked. We have an offensive coordinator and coaching problem on the offensive side. We do. That doesn't mean that Jalen has no blame to carry sometimes. I completely agree with you. I just know how Jalen Hurts' mind works when it comes to football. He's not he knows the situation. He's not going to fuck it up with something stupid. That's why the Chargers game, I was like, because he doesn't do that. Now, on the Bills side, everyone's dogging McDermott for going for 2. I got a couple of thoughts on this. One, absolutely the right call. Absolutely the right call. One, the throw was there, number one. You haven't been able to do nothing against this Eagles defense. Nada. Nothing. All of a sudden, you have the Eagles defense gassed. They're on their heels for the first time, it seems like, all freaking game. And you can end it right here while you have momentum. Absolutely the right call. Absolutely the right call to end it there. Because you never know. You go into overtime. What if the Eagles get the ball first? Who knows? Maybe it's a 3-and-out. Wouldn't surprise me. But whatever. You give that Eagles defense a time to get off the field. Whatever. Even if it's the coin flip. Even during the coin flip. Even if you get the ball first. And you probably should take the ball first. But the Eagles still get to go to the sideline and just, a little bit. The way it was going, absolutely the right call. Take advantage right there while you got all the momentum in the world. I get the people that want to say, if you go into overtime, the Eagles haven't done nothing in the second half, blah, blah, blah. I get it. I do get it. But I think right there was the perfect time. You had all the momentum in the freaking universe. I completely agree with going for it right there. Here's the other thought, though. Why is it that if Jalen Hurts sneezes the wrong way, he gets bashed so much by fans? But when Josh Allen misses a wide open throw to win the game, and he misses badly, does he get a pass? And yeah, sure, I've heard people say Josh Allen missed it, he threw a bad ball, but they kind of say it like that. It's all about, it was a terrible decision by Sean McDermott to go for 2. Why did he go for 2? Blah, blah, why did he go for 2? Blah, 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 blah. Motherfucker, if Josh Allen would have executed, and don't get me wrong, I'm not dogging Josh Allen in the sense that he's not a top quarterback. He is easily top 3, and he's probably not 3. I'm just saying, be consistent. It's like when you reach a certain level as a quarterback, it's almost like you're untouchable. And I think Josh Allen's there. He's untouchable. Come on. The guy did not execute. The throw was there. He missed it. That's on him. And if that was Jalen Hurts, my friends would have crucified me in the chat. So I don't want, keep the same energy. Now, speaking of why he missed it, look, it goes back to the Eagles defense. Did you see how he was just drifting back and drifting back and drifting back? And he really didn't need to if you watch it. So he's already still falling back and he's trying to get enough on the pass and everything else. Like the pressure that was in his face all throughout the game paid off right there. So in some sense, the Eagles made him miss that pass just from the pressure and just working up his clock, speeding up his clock over and over and over again. It's one of those things where it's really weird. On one hand, as an Eagles fan, I'm like, oh my God, dude, we should have beat this team by so much more. We almost lost this freaking offense, man. Why does it go completely dead in halves? Like against the Rams, it was the first half. Against the Bucks and you guys and the Cowboys or whatever, like it's the second half. Like why can't we play a consistent 60 minutes of football? On the other hand, you beat Josh Allen and the Bills at their place in a game that mattered probably more to them for a divisional standpoint to win their division than it did to us. I'll take that. I mean, when you really look at the Eagles' schedule, I mean, Jesus Christ, they beat the Rams. People want to sit there and say like, oh, it took like 2 block kicks. I don't care what it took. They beat them. They beat the Lions. Granted, the Lions aren't going to make the playoffs, but they're a scary team. They're a team that can get you. They have a lot of offense, and Gibbs scares the crap out of me. We beat the Packers. We just beat the Bills. We beat the Bucks, who might get into the playoffs. And this probably isn't as impressive as it was at the beginning of the year, but we did beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead when they absolutely want revenge on us. Like, we beat a lot of playoff teams and or good teams, and I know the Bears just kicked our ass. That was the worst game our defense has played. And I know we lost the Chargers, but I still will say, man, we were the better team. Just don't turn it over 6 fucking times, I mean, so really, other than the Bears, what team has really imposed their will on the Eagles? So anyway, Eagles hang on the win, 13-12. Crazy, crazy game. One of those games that when it's over, as an Eagles fan, it's very hard to know how the hell you feel about it. But again, you beat a damn good team that wanted to win more than you did, and you beat them at their place. I mean, they could have easily... The Bills are still a lot of people's favorite to go to the Super Bowl in the AFC. Let that sink in. And you beat them. You went to their house and beat them. Take it. That brings us to the 49ers beating the Bears, an absolutely crazy offensive shootout. 49ers win 42-38. This was absolutely crazy. Brock Purdy, man, 24 of 33 for 303 yards and 3 touchdowns. He had an interception, but he also had 28 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns on the ground as well. So 5 total touchdowns and over 300 yards of total offense. Brock Purdy was killing it. Still has an interception problem, but just a crazy, crazy game. Caffrey had 140 yards on the ground and a touchdown. Pearsall had 85 yards and 5 catches. Caleb Williams actually did pretty good too. 25 of 42 for 330 yards, 2 touchdowns. Also had 18 yards on the ground. Luther Burden had 138 yards and a touchdown. And Loveland had 94 yards and a touchdown. This is the type of game the NFL wants America to see. It's loaded with offense, touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. We're kind of brainwashed into thinking, yeah, that's the best team, or that's the best team. Look at how many points they're scoring. But how many points are they giving up? Guys, defense matters, especially in the playoffs. Now, I'm not saying offenses don't. You got to be able to score. I mean, look at my Eagles. I'm worried that we're going to stop some people, but are we going to score enough? Both these offenses are spectacular. Defenses need some work. And look, it was 2 great offensive minds going at it. You have Shanahan on one hand, Johnson on the other, and they were just, I mean, it was exactly like we should have thought it would be. Points galore. It was very, very, very entertaining to watch. It's quite clear that offense sells tickets, offense sells viewership, offense sells. And the 2 minds between Shanahan and Johnson, like, That's what gives these two teams a chance at the Super Bowl. That's what gives these two teams a chance, period. Because on the defensive side, there's not much. They're going to have to win offensive shootouts. And you can win games like this, like the 49ers just did, like the Bears did against Green Bay, or, you can win stuff like that. The problem comes when you have to do it for week after week after week after week in the playoffs against good teams, week after week after week after week in the playoffs. Just takes one team to score more points than you, or one team to stop you on that one drive, or one crazy tipped ball for an interception, or one this, one that. It's a high stakes way of living. People think I'm crazy when I say stuff like that until it actually happens and manifests. Can the 49ers win the Super Bowl? You bet your ass they can. Can the Bears win the Super Bowl? Abso-fucking-lutely. They're both talented as hell in offense. I'm just saying, you worry having to live like this. It's a crazy way to try to live and try to get, when you don't have that complementary football. And that's what worries me about these two teams. I'm actually a believer of Caleb Williams now. Earlier on in the year, I wasn't. And I couldn't see why everybody was such a believer of this guy. I'm like, I didn't see much last year. So unless you guys got some real good training camp looks and everything else and know more than I do, what are you seeing? Well, I mean, I'm seeing it. The way the ball just comes off his hands and everything else, you can see how talented the dude is. So he's going to be a good one for years to come. And as much as I keep dogging on offensive only teams and saying that you need defense to win in this league and blah, 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 at least in the playoffs, I do hope we get a high scoring close game like this in the playoffs, because that would be pure theater. So call me a hypocrite. All right, let's get into some playoff talk. I'm going to start with the AFC. So this is where we're at right now. You guys can follow along on your computer or go to NFL.com or just fucking listen to me. That's cool too. So number one seed is the Broncos. They have won the AFC West division. That is locked up. They have not won the number one seed yet. Now they will win the number one seed in the AFC with a win or New England loss or tie. And I'm going to stop it right here. I hate the whole tie thing. Here's what I mean. It just complicates shit. It's just, this team can do this with a win plus a blah, 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 loss or tie, or they can do it. I'm just going to cut the ties out from here on out. I'm just going to cut them out. So don't correct me going further. All right. I'm going to cut that out here, right now. So they can win the number one seed with a win or a Patriots loss this week. The Patriots are the second seed right now. They have won the AFC East division, and they win the number one seed with a win plus a Denver loss. That number one seed still up in the air, all right? Denver's in the catbird seat. They just need to win. And they're the number one seed, all right? Playoffs in the AFC runs through Denver. They just need to win. Patriots, they need to win. They need Denver to lose, and then they'll be the number one seed. The Jacksonville Jaguars are the AFC's third seed at 12-4, and they have not won their division yet. They have not clinched it completely. They can do so with just simply winning. They win in Week 18. They win the AFC South. But here's the crazy thing. The Jaguars aren't only concerned with winning their division. They can actually win the number one seed. What? Yeah, they can actually win the number one seed. They're still alive for it. They need to win, obviously, and they need both the Broncos and Patriots to lose. And the Jacksonville Jaguars are your AFC's number one seed. What fucking universe is this? Steelers are the AFC's fourth seed. For now. Because they have not won their division and they have not even clinched a playoff spot yet. This is crazy. So they're going to play the Ravens. All right. And that means everything. Whoever wins that game wins the AFC North and a playoff spot. Whoever loses is out of the playoffs. This is truly a winner take all. It's Sunday Night Football. It's a take-all game. Steelers and Ravens. Can't get better than that. The Texans are the fifth seed right now. Again, like I said earlier, they can win their division and hop up to, I believe, the third seed by winning and Jacksonville losing. Crazy. The Chargers are the sixth seed in the AFC. They have already clinched a playoff spot, and they're kind of right there at 6. They could come down to 7. But they're going to be 6th or 7th, depending on what the Bills do. The Bills have already clinched their wild card spot. Again, they're stuck in the wild card just like the Chargers. And they can either go to 6th or 7th. Again, they're both 11-5 teams. If one wins and one loses, it can switch. It can whatever. Whoever ends up with a better record. Right now, the Chargers are 6th and the Bills are 7th. And the only other team that's not currently in the playoffs that could get in, like I said, is the Ravens. And it all depends on their matchup with the Steelers. That's it. That's the AFC. So certain things to take out of it is you got the Broncos, Patriots, and Jaguars still fighting for that number 1 seed. It's most likely going to be the Broncos or Patriots, but still, Broncos, Patriots, and Jaguars are still in the mix for that number 1 seed. You got the Ravens and the Steelers. Whoever wins that matchup on Sunday Night Football is in. Whoever loses is out. Other than that, that's pretty much it. You have the Jaguars and Texans. So that AFC South division, if the Jaguars lose and the Texans win, the Texans would then be the division winner and the Jaguars would be in the wild card. That's really it. That's really the layout of the AFC. The NFC is in a much similar predicament. See, the number 1 seed has not yet clinched. It has not yet been identified, but it's down to 2 teams. And those 2 teams just happen to play each other on Saturday Night Football. So the Seattle Seahawks are currently your number 1 seed. They have not clinched it yet, but they are currently, at the playoff starter right now, your number 1 seed. However, they have not won the number 1 seed. They haven't even won their division yet. To win the number 1 seed and to win the division, all they have to do is win. Beat the San Francisco 49ers on Saturday night, and you not only have won the NFC West, but you have won the NFC's number 1 seed. If the Seahawks happen to lose against the San Francisco 49ers, then those 49ers actually win the NFC West, and the San Francisco 49ers end up winning the NFC's number 1 seed. So this matchup is truly for the number 1 seed on Saturday night. That's awesome. Like, think about it for a second. The Seattle Seahawks could either be the number 1 seed or the number 5 seed, depending on this game Saturday night. The Bears are currently the number 2 seed, and they have already won the NFC North. Now, they can clinch that number 2 seed by simply winning, by simply beating the Lions. If they lose to the Lions and the Eagles beat the Commanders, then the Bears will drop to the 3rd seed. But either way, the Bears are going to be the 2nd or 3rd seed, and actually it sounds like the Eagles are going to rest their stars against the Commanders, so looking more and more like the Bears might be the 2nd seed. Although the Eagles might be able to beat the Commanders with their backups. That brings us to the Philadelphia Eagles, who are the NFC's number 3 seed. And much like I just told you about the Bears, the Eagles can go as high as the number 2 seed if the Eagles beat the Commanders, likely with their backups, and the Bears lose to the Lions like they did earlier in the year, by a lot actually. Then the Eagles could be the number 2 seed. But either way, the Eagles are going to be the 3 or the 2. The Panthers are currently your NFC's number 4 seed. Yeah, the Panthers. But they don't have the division wrapped up, and they don't even have a playoff spot wrapped up. They need to beat the Buccaneers this week, and they win the division, and they earn their spot in the playoffs, and they will be the number 4 seed. However, if they lose to the Buccaneers, then the Buccaneers will win the division and be the number 4 seed, and the Panthers will be out. The 49ers at 12-4 are the NFC's number 5 seed. The fact that right now the Panthers are a higher seed than the 49ers. What the f***? The 49ers can clinch the NFC West and the NFC's number 1 seed by beating the Seahawks this week. That means the 49ers can be the 1st, 5th, or even the 6th seed. The Rams at 11-5 is the NFC's 6th seed. The Rams, at one time, very recently, was considered the NFL's best team. And they might still be. But right now, they're only a wild card team, and they can be as high as the 5th seed, as low as the 6th seed. And that leaves us to the NFC's 7th seed, the 9-6-1 Green Bay Packers. They are locked into that 7th seed. They can't go up. They can't go down. They will face whoever is the 2 seed, which will be either the Eagles or Bears in the first round of the playoffs. And much like the Ravens in the AFC, who's not currently in the playoffs but has that chance, the only team in the NFC that's not currently in the playoffs but still has a chance is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. All they have to do, like I said earlier, is beat the Carolina Panthers to steal that division and win the number 4 seed. All right, that's it. That's the 2025 to 2026 NFL playoff bracket. And quite frankly, it's so much more wide open than I've ever seen before. I mean, on the AFC side, there is 2 teams that I really can't see win the Super Bowl. 2 out of 7. 2. Only 2 teams. And that's the Chargers and whoever makes between the Steelers and Ravens. Those 2 teams, I can't see really winning it this year. But 2 teams out of 7. The other 5, I can totally see. and totally believe not even making the Super Bowl, but winning it. I can totally see the Broncos, the Patriots, the Jaguars, the Bills, the Texans. I can totally see each one of them not only making it to the Super Bowl, but winning it. On the NFC side, there's only one team out of the 7 that I can't see win the Super Bowl. And that's whoever makes it between the Buccaneers and the Panthers, the NFC South team. That's it. Like, I can totally see the Rams, 49ers, Seahawks, Packers, Bears, Eagles. I can totally see all of them winning the Super Bowl. This is as wide open as I've ever seen, which makes it a lot of fun. So with one more week of the regular season to go, it'll be playoff time, and I can't freaking wait. All right, guys, it's time for some fantasy football.
It's time for fantasy football with Dane and Justin. Get ready to dominate your league.
All right, I got my sheet right here. I got Dane's picks as well. All right, so for overachievers, I'm going to pick up 2 overachievers. I got Derrick Henry, like I said earlier in the podcast, 36 carries for 216 yards and 4 touchdowns. God damn. And then Brock Purdy, had to include him too. 24 of 33 for 303 yards, 3 touchdowns. Did have that interception, but also 2 more touchdowns on the ground. So he had over 300 yards and total 5 touchdowns. You got to be on there. So hats off to those guys, Derrick Henry and Brock Purdy, man. If you, especially in championship weekend, if you had either of those guys in your championship game, you are very, very happy right now. As far as underachiever, I think this is the first time he's been on this list. Matthew Stafford. I think he was an overachiever last week. So very bipolar play. But anytime you throw 3 interceptions and lose a really, really much needed game, especially for seeding and stuff like that, really bad performance. So Matthew Stafford against the Falcons, not great. All right, stardom results. Dane had you start Zay Flowers. He did have a touchdown, but 4 catches for 30 yards. Not great. Although I had you start Terry McLaurin, he had 5 catches for 63 yards, so that was another. If you guys listen to us, which you should not, and you started those players in your fantasy league, especially on championship weekend, I deeply apologize. I think Dane has the bigger apology because last week he told you, sit Derrick Henry. Well, Derrick Henry not only made our overachievers list, and I feel like this is the 3rd or 4th time in this podcast I've said his stats, but again, and I'm sorry for you Packers fans, 36 carries for 216 yards and 4 touchdowns. I think he got you into the 50s. Fantasy points. So Derrick Henry definitely carried some teams this week. That was probably our worst sit-em advice ever on the podcast, and I'm sure Dane sends his regrets. I told you to sit Amon-Ra St. Brown. He had 8 catches for 68 yards, so middling. I thought he would do even less than that, so, you know, that was more than I thought he would do. Now let's get to our stardoms and sit-ems for this week, for week 18. We considered not doing them this week because most fantasy leagues are done. But we decided we'd do one more just in case. There's some settings that you can do where you do all the, I don't know why you would because teams rest their stars and stuff. It makes it really weird. But we figured we'd do it one last week. It's only one more week of the regular season. So this will be our last fantasy stardoms and sit-ems of the year, guys. I'm hoping to get this right. I don't think we've been like super right on all of our picks yet. Quite frankly, that's why do you listen to us? I don't know why you listen to us. All right. I say start Jahmyr Gibbs. Most people would say, well, duh, I start him every week, and you should. But start him this week against the Bears defense. I think not only just rushing wise, I think he'll catch some stuff and take him to the house. I actually had the Lions beating the Bears this week. As crazy as it sounds. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to do a lot of damage on throws, on short throws like that, where he makes one guy miss and takes it to the house or goes very far with it. Dane has you starting Jackson Dart versus the Cowboys defense. You know, the Cowboys defense is starting to become that joke where it's like whoever's going against them, just start them. And quite frankly, if you just went by that rule, it probably worked out quite well for you during this year. But I think also not only the Cowboys defense bad, but I also think it's the last game of the year. They're mailing it in. And it's the same thing for Jackson Dart. I just think he's going to get up for this game a little bit more. He's still a rookie. He was hurt recently. I think he's still loving going out and playing. Not that Dak Prescott and the Cowboys don't. I'm not saying that. But with the expectations that both teams had, I think the Cowboys are miserable this year. And I think the Giants are just, I think there'll be a little more fight in them. So I think Jackson Dart against the Cowboys defense, he'll be playing with a little more energy than the Cowboys defense will be. Let's put it that way. Sit 'em. I got sit Baker Mayfield versus the Panthers. I think the Panthers are going to win this game, and I think they're going to win the NFC South, and the Buccaneers will be out of the playoffs. I think the Panthers, they've been real interesting on defense. They are, with Horn and then the rest of those guys, they take the ball away quite a bit. I can see Baker throwing an interception or two, and I can see the Panthers kind of making it a little bit miserable for Baker. So I just have this weird thing that it's not going to be great. Not that the Buccaneers offense has been great, halfway through. I think they started out 6-2, and then they've been just kind of shit ever since. I can see that being more of the same, quite frankly. And this is funny because when I was first going to go over my sit-ems, this was the guy that I was going to sit until I saw that was Dane's pick. So I'm like, oh crap, I got to go with someone else. And that's why I went with Baker. But Dane has you sitting Brock Purdy against the Seahawks. I can totally see it. And Brock Purdy, for as good as he is, and look, he made my overachievers this week. The guy can have some really good games, but man, he can really turn the ball over. He can really give it to the other team. And the Seahawks will definitely make you pay if you're careless at all with that ball. So, Brock Purdy is definitely a good pick to sit. All right, that's our last fantasy segment of the season, guys. It was a lot of fun. I can't wait to start it up next year. Can't wait to embarrass ourselves more. Hopefully you didn't listen to us too much because, man, we might have lost you some games. I'm not even kidding. If you enjoyed our fantasy matchups, us making fools of ourselves, being completely dead wrong, we will be back next year. We can't wait, and we'll see you then. All right, we got some games to review, guys. We're going to start with probably the most important game of the season this Saturday. It is the Seahawks at the 49ers, and the Seahawks are a 1.5 favorite. Man, this game is huge. It seems like right now, both teams are a little bit one-sided. The Seahawks used to be really balanced. They've always had all season long this really, really, really good defense. And the offense with Njigba, it was just bombs away, being real creative. So they were scoring a lot of points while not allowing a lot of points. And it was just, they were blowing out teams. It was looking really good. Now the offense is kind of really came back to earth. It's been a lot of sporadic offense. The defense is still really, really good. So they're very much just a defensive team at this point. The 49ers, on the other hand, are the complete opposite. Their defense, they're working with freaking patchwork defense and everything else. They're not stopping a lot of teams. Brock Purdy does turn it over quite a bit, but it seems like they go up and down the field. And that's just with Kyle Shanahan. He's an offensive mastermind, right? So it's very much what's going to win. Is it going to be the offense of the 49ers? Is it going to be the defense of the Seahawks? And which team is going to get their weaker side to contribute more? Is the Seahawks and Sam Darnold going to start pushing the ball a little bit more? Is the 49ers defense going to actually stop somebody? I think I have more trust in the Seahawks defense than I do the 49ers offense. And I have a lot of trust in the 49ers offense. It really comes down to what do I see being the bigger deal? Who do I see getting the best of who? Because it's really good on good and bad on bad. Which one is the worst and which one is the better? If you were starting a team right now, would you rather have the Seahawks defense or the 49ers offense? If you had to pick your weakness, would you rather have the 49ers defense or the Seahawks offense? The answer to both those questions, if I had to pick, are the Seahawks. So that's what I'm going with. I'm going with the Seahawks. It's at the 49ers. That carries me some concern. And look, from a selfish standpoint, who would I rather win? I'd rather the 49ers win because I would rather, as an Eagles fan, I would rather have to go to the 49ers than to go to Seattle. I just want nothing to do with that place. Now, I have the Seahawks winning, but do I have them covering that 1.5? Yes, I do. I think the Seahawks are probably going to win by 4 or 5 points, which covers that 1.5. I'm going to say something like 24-20. Seahawks win, they cover, and that makes them the number 1 seed, and that makes the 49ers the 5 or the 6, depending on what the Rams do. As I look on my sheet, it appears Dane does agree with me. He has the Seahawks winning and covering just like I do. We didn't provide a final score or anything like that, but yeah, we both got the Seahawks covering. That brings us to the Packers at the Vikings. The Vikings are 5.5-point favorites, and people might be wondering, huh? Well, that's because the Packers are most likely going to rest most of their starters because they are absolutely locked into that 7th seed. They can't lose it. They can't go up. They can't go down. They are locked into that 7th seed, and they will be going to the Chicago Bears or the Philadelphia Eagles round 1 of the playoffs. So with most of the starters not playing, if not all the starters not playing, the Vikings are 5.5-point favorites. This is pretty controversial because I know Jordan Love didn't play, but the last time the Packers starters have played, they absolutely got shellacked by the Ravens. Is that the last taste of football you want to have before going into elimination games? On the other hand, you have a chance, a rare chance, even as a 7th seed, it doesn't matter. You have the rare chance to get a bye week, a manufactured, self-created bye week before going into those elimination games. And that's huge. I mean, look, this has been a grueling season. I know it doesn't feel like that because we just watch games on TV, but these guys are beaten up. You get a fresh week to rest. As a matter of fact, the Packers have had hell of the last few weeks. I mean, you lose the game against the Broncos, you lose Micah Parsons, you lose against the Bears, now you get shellacked by the Ravens. I mean, it's like, oh my God, just time to get away. Not just, like I said, for the, healing the bodies, but just like a woosah type thing, like just, get away and just reset. The Packers still have plenty of talent. And if you watch the playoff segment that I did just a little bit ago, I can see the Packers winning the Super Bowl. They're one of the 6 teams in the NFC that I can see winning the Super Bowl. They're right there in the midst of a very, very wide open playoff, more wide open than I've ever seen it. Take a break, just take a breather. So it's going to be the Packers backups, I assume with Malik Willis, he's a good quarterback. Now, who's he throwing to? Who's the offensive line protecting him? How many stars they're going to sit? Which stars will play, if any? Who freaking knows? The Vikings are in a weird spot, however, because usually when you have a chance to spoil someone else's season or to ruin their seeding or to ruin their chances or this or that, you kind of get up for it. Even though you're not in the playoffs yourself, you kind of get up for it. However, you can't ruin their chances. They are locked into that 7th seed, and you wouldn't even be playing their starters. So as a Vikings team who's not in the playoffs themselves, this might be a hard game to get up for. I know it's a division game. But that said, you're not spoiling shit over there. So I feel like it's a really hard game to really get up for. I went back and forth on this quite a bit. I really have. At the end of the day, I'm going to pick the Vikings to win and to cover those 5.5 points. I can see the Vikings winning by like 7 to 10, somewhere around there. Not because, if the Packers starters were playing, I'd pick the Packers. I would absolutely pick the Packers. And it's not because Jordan Love ain't playing. I think Malik Willis is a very, very good quarterback. It's just who's protecting him. All right, the Vikings, they like to do exotic blitzes and stuff like that and exotic coverages and everything else like that. Who's protecting him? Who's the offensive line protecting him? Not only that, but like what receivers are you trotting out there? And, the Packers didn't really have a number 1 receiver. They have a bunch of number 2s. Now are they trotting out number 3s? Who's playing? At the end, and the Packers defense has not been playing well lately. So now you're going to take out that starting unit and put in the second unit. I know it's JJ McCarthy, but still, I just see a Packers loss in this one. Again, I don't think the Packers care whether they win or lose. They'd like to win, I guess, but they're looking to the playoffs. And quite frankly, they need to. They need to get this week where they're not even really focused on the Vikings. They're focused on stopping the bleeding, plugging the holes in the ship, whatever, and get ready for the playoffs. So with that said, I do think the Vikings get this by maybe 27-20. Dane says Packers will win and cover. So he's repping his team. He's confiding in them. I don't know if he made that pick not knowing if the Packers are going to rest their starters or not. He's really glued in, so I'm imagining he does know that. Either way, that's the pick I got. So that's our first disagreement. I got the Vikings covering. He's got the Packers covering. This brings me to my favorite game of the week, and it's not for the reasons you guys think. It's the Commanders at the Eagles. The Eagles are a 7-point favorite. Now, I don't think they're a 7-point favorite anymore. You see, I do my homework for this show. I try to minimize mistakes, although mistakes will be made. And I looked on FanDuel and it said the Eagles were a 7-point favorite. Well, that was before news came out that the Eagles are indeed going to rest their starters for this week. Now, I guarantee if I look on the internet right now, the Eagles are probably not a 7-point favorite any longer. But I don't care. I'm still going to use that 7-point spread. Now, two things. Why is this my favorite game of the week? Well, it's because we get to see Tanner McKee. I know you guys are laughing right now. For those of you that don't know, I am really high on Tanner McKee. Now, that does not mean that I'm low on Jalen Hurts. Two can be true at the same time. I just am a real fan of Tanner McKee, and I cannot wait to see him for an entire game. Now, it kind of sucks for two reasons. One, he's going to be thrown to backups. Most importantly, he's going to have backups protecting him. That's not ideal. So it's not going to look perfect, okay? He's playing with complete backups. However, I think he'll still do quite good. And I just can't wait to see Tanner McKee for an entire game. It's kind of a treat to me. Now, do I think it is the right call? The Eagles still have a shot for the second seed. For the second seed, that's huge. That's guaranteeing yourself another home game. You're already going to get one. And if you win that one, you're guaranteed to get a second one if you get the second seed. And if the first seed ends up losing, you'll get a third one. The Eagles were the second seed last year. They did all three of their games at home and got to the Super Bowl. It's huge. And the Eagles, I think Philadelphia does have a true home field advantage, especially in the playoffs, especially in that atmosphere. Also, a big thing to get the second seed is you will be playing the Green Bay Packers, who are struggling right now. You don't get the second seed and you stay at the third seed, well, your first round is going to be the 49ers, the Rams, or the Seahawks. Not ideal. I mean, look, if you want to get to where you're going to get to, you're going to have to face a great team anyway. You just want it to be, NFC Championship game, somewhere kind of deeper into the playoffs, not the wild card round. So those are the reasons why the second seed is huge. It guarantees yourself a second home game at least, and you'll be facing, most likely, an easier opponent. Now, here's why I think it's a good decision to rest the starters. The offensive line. The offensive line is beaten up. They are playing like ass. And I think a big factor in that is they're banged up, man. Cam Jurgens and Landon Dickerson, man, they are so beat up. They could use a week's rest. You're going to get Lane Johnson back at right tackle. Getting those two guys, or really the whole offensive line, a week of rest is so huge. It's so huge before you go into the elimination games. Not only that, but like in 2023, we were so concerned about seeding. We decided to play, and look who we lost. We lost A.J. Brown. We lost the game anyway, by the way. But you lose A.J. Brown. You go into the wild card round without your best receiver. Probably would have lost anyway. But it's just, for what? For just get from third seed to second seed? If you can't beat whoever you face as the third seed, if you can't beat the 49ers, the Rams, or the Seahawks in the wild card round, what makes me think you're going to beat them in the divisional or in the NFC Championship game? I say the week of rest is most important. And this is something people aren't really talking about. They act like it's one or the other. Like the Eagles play their starters and they get that number 2 seed, or they rest their starters and they stay in the third seed. Well, number one, if you play your starters and you beat the Commanders, there's no guarantee that the Bears are going to lose to the Lions, which is what you need to get that second seed. There's no guarantee in that. So you could literally play your starters for no damn reason. And vice versa. Who's to say that you can't beat the Commanders without playing your starters? Could you imagine, in the perfect world, the Bears somehow lose to the Lions, which, look, the Lions beat the shit out of them. It was quite a while ago, and both teams are playing differently now, granted, but still, the Lions beat the shit out of the Bears earlier in the year. Who's to say the Bears don't lose to the Lions and your backups don't beat the Commanders? That way you got to rest your starters and you get the second seed. That'd be awesome. With that said, I actually do see the Philadelphia Eagles beating the Commanders by more than 7 points. I actually have the Eagles backups covering that 7-point spread, which again, guaranteed by kickoff, it's not 7 points. It probably went down since the announcement. But I do have the Eagles, the backups, beating the Commanders by over 7 points. That's not me being a homer. Maybe a little bit of love for Tanner McKee, but it's also, I think the Eagles starters on the offensive line are so banged up. I think the backups will provide a little energy. I do. I hope that Tank Bigsby plays a lot. He's a backup. I hope he plays a lot. I think you'll see a lot of good running out of him. I think he's been running better than Saquon, actually. And I do think the Eagles backups, assuming Dotson plays a little bit, I do see Dotson and Coop and some of the other backup receivers doing well, and Tanner McKee hitting them in stride within the structure of the offense. The only thing that gives me pause is the Eagles' backup defense. I love Vic Fangio. I do think our backups on the defense are a little worrisome, especially at corner. Like, you're not going to have no Quinion out there, no Coop. Corners are going to be a little bit of a problem. Linebackers, I think, will be okay. I think we'll be okay at linebacker. I think we'll be okay-ish on the line. I think corner and safety is what's going to hurt us big time. So that does worry me. That absolutely worries me big time. They could probably score a lot of points or get a lot of big plays on us. So that hurts. That hurts. That's the one worry I have in this pick. Is our secondary, our backup secondary. I don't know. I can see the Eagles backups pulling it out and winning. Dane also has the Eagles winning and covering. I'm not sure if he knew the Eagles were playing their backups, but it's too late, Dane. I got your pick. And like I said in the Packers game preview, like the Commanders aren't really spoiling much. I mean, yeah, they could stop us from getting the 3rd seed, but by us playing our backups, it's almost like we're waving the white flag on that anyway, kind of. So, I mean, I know it's a division rival, but not much to spoil. Speaking of which, do you know if the Panthers beat the Buccaneers like I predict, the Eagles are the only repeat division winner from last year? It's crazy. And that's it. That's all we got for episode 16, the last week of the regular season for the Tailgate Talkers podcast. I'm so glad you guys watched with me. Again, hopefully Dane gets back soon. Makes it so much easier to run thoughts and run ideas off each other. That's it. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the playoffs. Have a good one, guys.